A lot of people mention One-Armed Swordsman as a key transitional film, as the first true modern martial arts film. The overall genre, the genre as a whole, wuxia or martial chivalry film, had been going on for literally since the 20s. The Mandarin studios, of which Shaw Brothers was one, they had a thought at a certain point to revive the martial arts genre by adapting the conventions of Japanese samurai movies to make the films look more realistic, more down to earth, more gritty. So that was the context in which Chang-Che was working.
Chang-Che was very into James Dean and Marlon Brando. He was into the rebellious youth stuff, even though he was no spring chicken. And Jimmy Wang Yu definitely is a brooding hero in this film. He's brooding even before he's injured.
And you can see it especially at the beginning of the film, when he's in a martial arts school setting, and yet is acting uncomfortable and rebellious and resentful of very normal kinds of, you could say, bullying. So he's a different kind of person. He's somebody who's come into this situation of the traditional martial arts school and just it doesn't sit right with him.
The source of his character's surliness, I think, is very largely class-based. I mean, he's in this really weird position. He's been taken into the family almost as another son, but not entirely, because his father gave up his life to defend the master, and the master's a good guy, so this is what you expect. But it's clear that he's never been regarded as somehow, on an equal with the daughter, and not even on an equal with some of the other students.
That creates the tensions between the Wang Yu character and his fellow students, which are actually kind of visually signaled by the fact that the other students are wearing costumes that look very much like old-fashioned wuxia swordsmen, whereas in his sort of plain workout tunic, the Wang Yu character looks like either a samurai or like a member of the lower classes.
He takes all this abuse from the other people in the household, but he's also seems to feel superior to them, and he is arrogant, as Pierre, the female character, accuses him of being. He's not so arrogant that he deserves to have his arm sliced off, but, that was kind of an overreaction on her part.
Later on, when he meets the peasant girl, he responds to someone who's essentially of his own class.
If ever there's a movie that had its Freudian symbolism almost right there on the surface, this guy's life is ruined because this woman cuts off an appendage of his, and another woman manages to give him the confidence to go on and still be able to be a man. You really don't need a critic to explicate that stuff.
The drama of the movie is really him trying to get out of the world of martial arts as much as anything. He doesn't know anything else, but he sees in this girl a way out of this perpetual kind of back and forth fighting.
One-Armed Swordsman was, at that time, more explicit in its bloodiness than was the standard. The fact that it was so popular just encouraged more of that from him and other directors.
Even when blood in these pictures became fairly standard, Chang-Che was renowned for the bloodiness of his films.
In the long run, in a Chang-Che film, both sides are going to tear each other's limbs off. He likes seeing that red stuff squirt.
Chang-Che loves stomach wounds for some reason. Partly, I think, for practical reasons, because that was the easiest place to put basically a condom full of blood that somebody could squeeze and erupt. It's much harder to do anywhere else on the body. So he became famous for people with spears, swords, arrows, all sorts of things stuck in their guts.
One-Armed Swordsman started what's essentially a subgenre, or a subgenre and a sub-subgenre. The subgenre would be handicap films. the subgenres, specifically one-armed films. Jimmy Wong Yu later does, one-armed boxer. Then you get the Crippled Avengers, the new One-Armed Swordsman with David Chang, the return of the One-Armed Swordsman, and most famously, Master of the Flying Guillotine. And it's a great wrinkle in the martial arts genre, this notion of you are injured in some serious, serious way, and the manner in which you get your power back is a spiritual learning experience. I mean, in this film, it really is simply him conquering despair.
So here you have the young man whose sword is broken at the beginning of the movie, who can't fight in a normal way. He no longer has his arm, and learns how to overcome those handicaps. He learns how to fight with one arm and with the stump of a sword. It turns out that that stump of a sword is just the weapon he needs to defeat the weapon that the villain has, which is the sword clamp weapon. Now that combination of, we have a new weapon, you come up with another weapon that will defeat ours. That's also a key element of the martial arts movie.
The Shaw Brothers really were the 800-pound gorilla of Hong Kong film production.
The Shaw Brothers backlot is famous. It had several towns, streets, and in fact, rivers. The river that's used when Wang Yu falls into the young lady's boat here, it looks to me like the same river that appears at the end of Come Drink With Me and a number of other films.
The aesthetic result of this is that you do get a certain look and a certain feel from a studio-bound film. It's that same kind of heightened reality that is almost like somebody's idealized memory rather than something that's actually happening. And you do see it in some of the other directors at Shaw's because of this policy of using the studio lot as much as possible. But this is one of the richest examples of that. It just looks great.
One-Armed Swordsman was the first film ever to gross $1 million at the box office in Hong Kong. Huge film in the year it was released, spawned 2 sequels. I mean, the more important effect of the box office triumph of that film is that it created what we think of as the kung fu boom or craze. It was a real eye-opener.